Hey guys, so today I have a little bit of a different video for you guys. Today's actually my 8-year anniversary with diabetes. I got diagnosed 8 years ago on January 11th, 2011 when I was about to turn 9. And so I've had diabetes for half of my life now. That's crazy. If you guys are wondering, this is my type 1 diabetic shirt. Type 1 diabetic, I am greater than my highs and lows. There's the explanation. So my main goal in this video is kind of to tell you guys my story and raise awareness for this disease and kind of spread some knowledge. I feel like a lot of people don't fully understand what it is, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's very frustrating as a type 1 diabetic to hear people say things that just aren't true. So I would love to just spread awareness and hopefully stop one more ignorant and misinformed person from making those dumb comments. I'm just gonna start by telling you guys the story of how I was diagnosed. My pediatrician at the time, I had just gone for like a regular checkup and I had never gotten blood work before. And so she ordered blood work just like make sure everything was okay. And so I get the blood work done, and this is like in December of 2011. And I wasn't really having any like diabetic symptoms like before you get diagnosed. Like you pee a lot, you drink a lot, you lose a bunch of weight. Like those are like regular things that like happen when you like right before you get diagnosed with diabetes. Like I didn't realize I was having any of those symptoms. But looking back now, like I can see that I was drinking a crap ton and like peeing a bunch. I didn't really lose a bunch of weight though. Next thing I know, I'm coming home from school and my dad rushes me to my pediatrician's office, and my mom met me there because she was at work, and then they pricked my finger. My blood sugar is way too high, so it wouldn't even register on the machine. A little basic knowledge for you guys. A normal blood sugar is like 70 to 100. So they sent me straight to the emergency room. Got there, they tested my blood sugar, and I was at 464. 100 is like the goal number. So the fact that I was over 4 times that number was really dangerous, and that's not even as high as like a lot of people get, but it's still really dangerous and really bad for your body to be at 400. Luckily, my doctor like found it in enough time that I wasn't like super ill. And so I was told that I had type 1 diabetes for sure. I kind of knew what it was, but I had no idea like how life-changing it is. The only thing I did know is that one of the kids in my class had type 1 diabetes. So I kind of knew a little bit about it, but not at all like what I was about to learn about it. So I remember calling my best friend and like telling her like, hey, I just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and she's like, I have no idea what that is. I mean, we were in 3rd grade at the time, so like no one really knew what it was. Anyways, so I stayed in the hospital for I believe 4 days, and I was going in and out of like nutrition and diabetes education and all of those things where they teach you how to do everything, carb count and prick your finger and do all this stuff and just kind of educate you on the basics of what you need to know. I remember being in the hospital room with my mom at night and just crying and being like, why did this happen to me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, I hadn't even had it for that many days, and I was already like, what can I do to get rid of this? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, I don't understand. And like, obviously she was heartbroken for me that this is happening to me. Like, she was like, there's nothing you can do to like get rid of this. This is just something that happens because your immune system stops working properly. And that's another thing that I wanted to hit on in this video, is a lot of people, when they hear diabetes, just in general, not type 1 or type 2, they just automatically think diet. Like, oh, diabetes, oh, so you can't eat this, this, and this. That is one of the biggest misconceptions that type 1 diabetics, and probably type 2, I'm not type 2, so I can't speak for them, but it's something that drives a lot of us insane when we're at a party and they're like, oh, you can't have cupcakes, can you? And I'm like, I can, I just have to take a shot for it. Like, it's very frustrating because type 1 diabetes is also known as juvenile diabetes, which it's called that because most of the people that are diagnosed with it are children, and you can't get rid of it. It is an autoimmune disease. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but anyway, it happens when your pancreas is basically attacked and your insulin producing cells are attacked and they stop working completely or a little bit for a little while, and then you can't get rid of it. It's not something that happens because of eating poorly, and it's not something you can fix from a diet. But I was figuring out how to give shots, how to prick my finger by myself, how to do all this stuff, how to calculate how many units to give if you're having 60 carbs, and how many carbs your dinner should be, and how many carbs your lunch should be, and what your carb to insulin ratio is, and how many units you have to give if your blood sugar is over a certain number. It's a lot to take in. It was overwhelming and kind of just scary for I think I was 8. Yeah, my 8-year-old self or 9-year-old self. It was kind of just terrifying to me. So basically that's the story of like the diagnosis. It's not a very like dramatic story. I didn't get rushed to the hospital because I passed out in the middle of class. Needless to say, it was not a fun time. Next, I'm going to talk about the years following the diagnosis. I remember when I was in the hospital, all my classmates like wrote me a letter to like get well soon, and like I remember I was super frustrated because I was like, I can't get well soon, like this isn't something you get well from. And I was like, you guys are so stupid, like I can't get well from this, this doesn't go away. And that was something I struggled with in the hospital, and I still struggle with it today, knowing that I can't get rid of it. It's not going away, and you just have to deal with it and do the best you can. So I go back to school after the diagnosis, and like I had to go to the nurse every time I ate something, and every time I thought my blood sugar was low, and every time I needed this, and every time I needed that. And I had to have someone walk with me up to the nurse. It was a lot. It was a lot to adjust to. But I remember one of my first lunches back at school, one of the girls in my class like said something about how I got diabetes because I was overweight. I was so upset. I remember just starting to cry, and I was like, how could you say that about me? Like, she has no idea what she's talking about. She doesn't even know like the difference between type 1 and type 2 and all this stuff. And honestly, it's just not a nice thing to say. My first couple days back weren't exactly the best. They weren't smooth sailing. I had some drama. But honestly, like now I don't care. Like I don't deal with people being like, what the hell? Like you're fat and you have diabetes. Like that's why you have diabetes. Like no one says that anymore. Anyways, so I would say 3rd through 5th grade was pretty good diabetes wise. In 4th grade, I got an insulin pump, which meant that I didn't have to give injections anymore. And I was on that until 7th grade, I believe. And by the time I was in middle school, I hated that thing. Wearing something on my body was like literally like torture for me, because it left scars all over my body. Like I could only wear it on my stomach, my back, and my butt, and it would like leave little like scars on my stomach, and it would hurt. And my pump had tubing, and it would always get caught on doorknobs, so it would always pull out, and it would hurt so bad. So I just ended up resenting the hell out of this pump. I still am not on a pump. Ever since 7th grade, never been back on a pump. But that's just a personal thing. A lot of diabetics want to be on a pump, love pumps. I just personally, for my lifestyle, the way I like to be, dancing and doing whatever the heck I want, I don't like things on my body. I think you just have to do what is best for you. I would say middle school is when things started getting difficult, like internally with like diabetes, like emotionally and stuff, because I just wanted to be what I thought was normal. Like I didn't want to have to prick my finger every time I wanted to eat, and every time I felt like I was shaking. Like I was like, F this, I don't feel like it. Like no one else has to, why should I? I mean, I still feel like that sometimes. I think I've always had that attitude, and it's kind of hard to shake that sometimes. But I think as long as you surround yourself with friends that are understanding, nobody's judging you for having it. It's not your fault. It's something you have to remind yourself. As a diabetic, you're kind of like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna give a shot in public, and I don't care. I don't know. Like over the years, I've definitely struggled with like not testing as much as I should be. I would say for a long time I was a closet diabetic, so like I would meet new people and like wouldn't tell anyone that I was diabetic. Like I'd make new friends and just like wouldn't tell them, but like everyone already knew. It wasn't like a big secret, but to me I was like, I can't tell anyone. Like I was so scared to just say I'm diabetic. Like it was something that I felt like I had to hide. And I think the biggest thing for me so far in all the years that I've had diabetes is getting my tattoo. A lot of people had negative things to say about it. I don't care. This is my tattoo. It says type 1 diabetic, obviously. I got this in June or July of 2018. Basically, I was kind of struggling coming to terms with diabetes, you know, having one of those times where I'm like, you know what, I just don't want it and I don't feel like dealing with it anymore. You know what, as a diabetic, you can't do that. Like, I do it a lot and like you can. And it's something that you just want to push away and hide in the closet, and like, I don't feel like dealing with it, so I'm just not going to. And I did that a lot, and I still do it sometimes. But like, this tattoo is kind of a reminder for me, like, diabetes is a part of you, Jenna, but it's not who you are. It's made you make decisions certain ways, and it's changed the way you think a little bit, but it's not who you are. Another big thing is it's a big medical alert, and I started driving like last year, so I was kind of like, if I got in a car accident, I want people to know like I'm diabetic and I don't like wearing medical ID bracelets. It was something kind of emotional for me to get because like I've always been so private about my diabetes. And sure, I'll post certain things on Instagram about it and, you know, just try to be as open as I can. And I feel like the moment I posted about my tattoo and got it on my body, it was kind of like, you have this and it's not going away. And a lot of people were like, well, what if there's a cure? Like, a lot of people that are gonna say like, you shouldn't get that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, they're not you. Diabetes is a giant emotional roller coaster. And one time I was with a diabetes like specialist and talking with her, and she was just kind of like trying to understand why I have such a problem like coming to terms with it sometimes. The best way I can describe it is diabetes is like the weather. Every day it changes for me. Sometimes I'm like, yay, diabetes, like I'm ready to take on this fight, like I can do this. It's not that hard, I just have to prick my finger. As long as I stay on top of it, like everything's good. And then like other days it feels like it's pouring on me and it's just dragging me down. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna push it away. But it's not going away. So the quicker you can come to terms with it and say, you know what, if I just deal with it and live with it, the happier you're gonna be. I think the major thing that I want people to take away from this is like, everyone has something that they're insecure about or that they don't want to deal with or they don't like about themselves. But the quicker you come to terms with it and the quicker you realize that like it's okay to be different and it's okay to have flaws and it's okay to have bad days and it's okay to ask for help sometimes. You know, diabetes is something that you have to ask for help. And you know what? Yeah, I might need help from a freaking juice box sometimes. Like, my blood sugar goes low and I'm like, please just save me. Like, it's so weird to me that like a juice box can literally save my life now. And like, if you would have asked me 8 years ago, like if I would have had a freaking tattoo of like diabetes and like would have been sitting here on camera talking about it, I would have laughed in your face.